Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning at Unity Spiritual Center, Denver. Good morning. Thank you so much for being here today. We're so glad that we can be here to share this beautiful Sunday morning with you. Martha Yordi, our music director and accompanist and pianist and all of everything musical. We're so glad to have her here this morning as well. And we are still playing around with technology and trying to bring you the best possible experience we can. So we're trying something a little different this morning and maybe something a little different next week. So thanks again for being with us and for being patient as we move through this learning curve. It's certainly been a learning curve for me. So let's begin this morning with an affirmation that we say here at Unity Spiritual Center Denver almost every Sunday. And that affirmation is: our God is love, our race is human, our faith is oneness. Let's say that together. Our God is love, our race is human, our faith is oneness. Thank you for that. So this morning I want to share with you a reading, if I can do that and hold the mic at the same time without poking my eye out here. And this is from Walter Starkey's book, It's All God. And we did a book study on his book a while back, and was really just delighted by his perspective. And this comes from a section called Our Divine Humanity. And he says, ancient mysticism and modern metaphysics has tried valiantly to explain that there is only one true identity or process. However, in expostulating on the illusory nature of human personality, they have nonetheless perpetuated duality. Perhaps what metaphysics has stumbled over in trying to eliminate illusion is itself the illusion. It isn't that personality is other than our reality, but rather that our concept of personality, being other than God, is the illusion. We will never break through to ascension consciousness as long as we have to excuse our humanness. Let me read that again. We will never break through to ascension consciousness as long as we have to excuse our humanness, denounce it, or unsee it. And we are kidding ourselves at those times when we say that God is omnipresence and omnipotence and that our humanity is something we have to eliminate. Our full, complete, and perfect identity, like heaven, exists right now, or it never has and never will. If it is not because it does not exist. It is because we do not see it. So I want to talk more about that in my lesson today, about our divine humanity and how important it is for us to honor our humanity, to recognize and to honor our humanity as we go through life itself, but certainly as we go through what we are experiencing in the world today. So I want to invite you to sing along with me if you know this song, and many of you I know do, Surely the Presence, as we go into our time of prayer together. Surely the presence of love is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of love is in this place. So wherever you are, I invite you to close your eyes and allow that to be an outer expression of removing attention and awareness and focus from the outer world and allowing your attention and focus to move as much as possible from the thinking into the heart, down into that space of love, where we know that there is that one life that is expressing as each of us in our wholeness, and yes, in our humanity, that life is living itself as each of us as individuated expressions of itself, and that we are here in this dimension to experience life, to experience our humanity, and even through our humanity, to reclaim and to reawaken to our divinity. And so as we allow ourselves to claim that now, I am perfectly human and perfectly divine in this moment. And I know that truth for myself. And I know that truth for everyone else. As we come together, those of us who are here together virtually, together we co-create this beautiful energy, this resonant field of love. And into that field of love, we bring all of those who are on our hearts and minds today, all of those who we know are experiencing so many different emotions and life challenges. And so we hold them in our hearts, and we hold them in this field of infinite love, knowing that love is the power that heals, love is the power that harmonizes, love is the power that uplifts. And so we see them uplifted in this consciousness of love. We hold those who are in their humanity, assisting so many people. The medical field and profession, those who are working to bring us food and to sell us food and to deliver us the things that we need. Those who we call the heroes, who are showing up every day to help us meet our human needs. And we are so grateful and so blessed. And so together we know the truth, that we are one, that we are one in God, we are one with each other, one with all creation. And in that we know our wholeness, and we are grateful, and we are blessed. And so it is. Amen. There's a new earth on the horizon, made of light, not a stone, calling out to all creation, you are not alone. Lions and lambs, saints and sinners, best of friends, enemies, woman and man, losers and winners, they're all in you and me. We are one heart, looking for answers. We are one soul, finding our way through the dark. One dream we share together. Yes, we are all a part of one heart. Out in the cold, there are faces hidden by the wind and rain. Hold out your hand, someone will take it and bring you home again. We are one heart, looking for answers. We are one soul, finding our way through the dark. one dream we share together. We are all a part, one heart around the world today. All the fires are burning, tears are falling from the sky. Still the world keeps turning. We are one heart, one soul, one dream we share together. Yes, we are all a part. We are one heart, looking for answers. We are one soul, finding our way through the dark. One dream we share together. Yes, we are all a part of one heart. Oh, we are one. Yes, we are all a part of one heart. Thank you, J.D. Martin, for such a beautiful song. J.D. Martin, Jamie Houston, and Wendy Waldman, actually. Such a beautiful song and such true words. We are all a part of one heart. And around the world tonight, today and tonight, we are holding each other in that truth. So I read the passage from It's All God by Walter Starkey, talking about our humanity and how important it is to recognize our humanity. So that's what I want to talk about today. I was reminded of a Zen story that says this novice comes to the master to learn how to meditate and how to come into enlightenment. And so after the first 2 weeks, he goes to the master and he says, "Master, I can't do this. This doesn't work for me. My mind won't stop. I'm so frustrated. I get so angry and I just can't do it. I'm so impatient with this." And the master teacher says, okay, just be with that. Keep going. That will pass. So the student goes back and he starts practicing again, meditating again. A few weeks later, he comes to the master and says, "Master, I'm so excited. I have had such peaceful, wonderful experiences of meditation and awareness." And the master says, "That's really good. Keep practicing. That too will pass." And so it's a great story about this too will pass. And a great story about being with and being present and continuing to be with what is. You know, I've talked to many people over the past few weeks and facilitated groups on Zoom and different virtual groups. And without fail, I hear from people about what's happening with them. Different emotions, you know, fear and anxiety and sometimes anger and depression and sometimes celebration even, that we find things to celebrate about. But I think that sometimes, you know, in our spiritual journey, at least those of us who are in New Thought, we sometimes want to avoid those feelings that we think are negative. The heavier feelings that we don't really want to feel, like anger or fear or doubt or frustration or impatience. Those kinds of feelings, because somehow we tell ourselves that we shouldn't feel those, or it's not okay to feel those, or somehow that's not spiritual enough, you know. We do this thing that we sometimes call in New Thought a spiritual bypass. You know, we start feeling angry and we just want to go, I don't want to do that, let me meditate and I'll get over it. And I think there's some value in that eventually, but I think it's something that we try to deny. You know, and denial is not about denying that we have feelings or denying that we're having an experience. It's really about denying that that's permanent. And so as we move through this, any time in our lives, but certainly as we're moving through this current world situation, I think it's important for us to recognize and to honor those feelings within ourselves, whatever they are, and to move through those feelings. As the story says, this too will pass. And I believe, as Walter Starkey says in the book, that it is important for us to recognize that our humanity is also divine and not ignore that. And as I was thinking about that this week, I recognized that through some of the stories we have about our teacher and our master, way shower Jesus, that he exampled that for us. That he showed us that even one who is spiritually awakened into his Christ consciousness has emotion and moves through those emotions. There's a great story, many of you I'm sure know the story, about Lazarus, who was a friend of Jesus's, and he and his sisters, Mary and Martha, and were friends of Jesus. And Lazarus got sick, and they called for Jesus to come because they knew Jesus could heal him if he would come and see him. And Jesus was busy doing something else, and he decided to wait. And so when he did arrive, he found that Lazarus had died. And Martha was angry with him, was kind of irritated with him, and said, if you had come, he would not be dead. He would still be alive. You could have cured him. And Jesus says, well, he will resurrect. And she said, I know he's going to resurrect in the hereafter. And he said, no, he can resurrect now. But in the midst of that, and Jesus, as it says in the story, Jesus wept. Jesus wept when he recognized that Mary and Martha were sad. And he wept when he recognized that his friend had died. He experienced grief, sadness, and he openly wept. Now, I think it's important for us to recognize that it's okay to feel sad. And it's okay to feel sad even when we know the spiritual truth. Just like Jesus said, he's going to resurrect. There is life. Life is eternal. The life of Lazarus, the life of all of us, the life of everyone is eternal. We can hold on to that awareness and still have our experience of our humanity. That's what in the book, It's All God, Starkey talks about as the double thread. That we can hold on to both. We can have both experiences. We can know the truth and we can have our experiences. And I think Jesus teaches us that, shows us that in that story. And then later in the scriptures, when Jesus is heading toward Jerusalem for the final days toward Palm Sunday, which we are experiencing and celebrating today, is Palm Sunday. There's a story about him getting ready to go into Jerusalem, and he withers a fig tree. Now, I thought that was a weird story. Why would Jesus, who's supposed to be so spiritual and enlightened, wither a poor little fig tree? Why would he do that? And as I think about that, in light of what I'm talking about today, if we put ourselves in Jesus' place at that time, if we can, he knew what was going to be happening. He was going into Jerusalem. He knew that the powers that be were going to be after him. He knew what was coming. He had been trying to teach his disciples about the kingdom being within, and the power that was within them, and how to heal and how to embrace that power. And he realized he didn't have much time. I don't have much time to teach you idiots what I need you to know. And so I can imagine, he was feeling somewhat impatient, and he was feeling a little bit concerned because he knew what was going to happen. And so as he went to the fig tree to get some fruit, to get something to eat it, and it wasn't there, I can imagine that he was, pretty irritated. And, he was frustrated. And so he just used his word to curse the tree. Now, again, I'm not suggesting that when you get frustrated and irritated, you go around cursing people or cursing things. But I think what he's teaching us in that story, if we're willing to hear it and willing to apply it, is that we all have these times when we get impatient, when we think there's just, I've got so much time and I'm just impatient. And I'm imagining that there are things that are going on around us today that we can feel pretty impatient about. And maybe even some people that we're hanging around a lot that we might even get impatient with. I can only imagine that could happen. I've heard of that happening, but it could be. And our lesson in that, I think, is that it's important to recognize the power of our words. That our words have the power to bless, and they have the power to curse. And so it's important for us to honor that and to recognize that for ourselves, that the words that we speak are energy, and the words that we speak that go out and the energy that then touches someone else or something else affects them. And I think it's important for us to recognize that. And I think that story is a great teacher for us if we allow it to be. And I'm saying this is my interpretation of it today, and it fits for what I'm talking about, and I'm not saying it is the only interpretation, but I wanted to share that with you. And then there's the story of him riding into Jerusalem. The story of Palm Sunday, as we know it today, where he was riding on the donkey into Jerusalem for the Passover feast. And again, he knew what was coming, and he was fulfilling the prophecy by riding into Jerusalem on the donkey, and people waving their palm fronds, blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord, and celebrating and rejoicing and just celebrating that what they believed was the coming of the kingdom upon the earth, where they were going to be restored to their rightful place. And so they were celebrating. And so again, celebration, joy is an important thing for us to honor and to experience. Even in these uncertain times, I think it's important for us to engender joy when we can find it within ourselves. I've heard, and I haven't been, but I've heard of people going to stand outside of hospitals when they do a change of shift, and they celebrate the nurses and doctors and honoring them. And I think it's a great practice. So we can find things to celebrate, even in the midst of what's going on in the world, or any opportunity for us to stop and find something to appreciate and something to celebrate and something to find joy about. I think there's great information about that. And so it's, again, another example of how Jesus demonstrates for us it's okay to have our emotions. And then, as he goes into Jerusalem, then he goes to the temple. And he turns over the tables of the money changers in the temple. And I can imagine that he was feeling pretty angry about what was going on. He was angry about the money changers, or the people making the temple into, he said, called them robbers and thieves. Because the temple is supposed to be a place of worship, a place of coming together to honor and to have spiritual and sacred ritual. And so he was angry about that. And he turned over the table. I'm not saying when you get angry, go turn over the tables or do something like that. But I think it's important for us to honor that anger is a part of our human experience. When I was thinking about that this week, what came to me was that it was anger born of love. I know some people say, well, anger and love can't coexist, but I think they can. I think his anger was really born of his love for God, his love for the people, his love for his religion, his love for the ritual, his love for his journey. And I think when he was seeing all of that going on, he felt angry. And I was reminded of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his expression of love. But he was also very angry. And he had a right to be angry about the treatment of African Americans in this country. And his actions were born of love, even though there was great anger there, and really justifiably so. And so when we feel anger, we can look at the world around us, and I'm not talking about blaming people, but we can look around and say, well, we can, and we have, and I've heard many people get really angry about what's going on and things that should have been done and things that should not have been done and all of those things. And, there may be some justification in that, but I ask us, again, not to go into that place of blame and lashing out, but connecting more with why do we feel that anger? Why do we feel that? And to get in touch with love, the love that we are, and the love that we feel, and that anger may be arising out of that, but allowing the anger, the energy of anger, to fuel the love that we feel, and then to fuel our actions. And I think that's an important difference, an important distinction for us to make. And so in Jesus after that, we don't know much about what he did between then and the Passover meal with his disciples, but there is some speculation that he and the disciples went to the Mount of Olives, went up to meditate and to pray. And Charles Fillmore talks about in the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary, Charles Fillmore is a co-founder of Unity. Metaphysically, olives represents love and wisdom, and a mountain is always representative of a high place in consciousness. And so if we think about Jesus going to the Mount of Olives, we think about him going into this high place of consciousness of love and wisdom. And then he comes back into Jerusalem and has his Passover meal with his disciples. Again, an experience of love and celebration and honoring and having the feeling of family and closeness and community. Again, that's an important thing for us to experience for ourselves. And even though we can't gather physically in groups, I think it's important for us to have that feeling of community and to do it virtually if we can. In fact, we have an opportunity for you to do that at 12 o'clock today on Zoom if you'd like to be a part of that. So gathering together and celebrating closeness, even though it may not be in physical form, but to honor that within ourselves, it's something that's important for us and something that is a part of our humanness, that it's important for us to feel that community and to honor that for ourselves. And then he goes, after the supper, he goes to the garden and prays. And again, it's important for us to recognize that even Jesus, in his final days, even Jesus, one who is so spiritually conscious and living in this Christ consciousness, doubts. And he's concerned, and he, it's like he's sort of in his own grief process, where he's bargaining with God. If it be your will, take this away from me. I don't want to do this. He's probably grieving and grieving the loss of his connection with his disciples and his life, his friends. He knows what's going to happen. And he's worried about that. In the story, it's important for us to recognize that he goes into the garden, he invites the disciples to stay there and to stay awake. And he comes out of the garden to see them, and they've fallen asleep. Again, what's up with that, guys? You can't even stay awake. He's probably feeling a little frustrated there. You can't even stay awake for just a little while. And it's important to recognize that he does that 3 times. He comes out and he goes back, and he comes out and he goes back. So it's important for us to recognize that sometimes moving through these feelings, moving through our emotions is not instantaneous. It's important not to do this spiritual bypass and say, oh, well, that's, I'm way too spiritual for that. But to recognize that it takes some time. And if we have these emotions, to feel them and to allow ourselves to move through them. I love that. I love looking at the story from that perspective because even Jesus struggled. He was in some anxiety about what was going to happen, you know? And so it's important for us to honor that. But then he comes out of that, and then the soldiers show up to arrest him, and he's so peaceful and calm and centered. And then he moves about the rest of that week, rest of those days. I guess it was probably just another day when he goes through the trial and the passion and then the crucifixion. But he did all of that, experiencing his humanness, but also experiencing his divinity, knowing his divinity. And so I offer that today because I think it's so valuable for us to recognize that our humanity is part of our spiritual journey. And to feel what we're feeling is perfectly fine. It's even more than fine. It's necessary. And it's important. And it's important for us to recognize that, again, it's not permanent. That this too shall pass if we keep moving and keep going and keep aligning with the Christ of our being. So it's more important, it's more important to feel what you're feeling and to experience what you're experiencing, and to know that what is so important, we talk about having dominion over our thoughts and feelings. Well, yes and no, we do, but not always, and it's okay. Feelings arise, thoughts arise. It's important for us to have dominion over what we do with them. It's important for us to have dominion over how we respond to them, and to have dominion over how the actions that we take, and not let our emotions rule us, but also not let our emotions, not deny our emotions. So as we move through this time, I know that many of us, have been on this roller coaster of emotions, and maybe some of us continue to be. And it's understandable. It's expected, and it's natural and normal. So allow yourself to honor your humanity, because it is divine. And you are perfectly human and perfectly divine, just as our master teacher, way shower, and elder brother Jesus exampled for us. So take a breath. Whatever you are is perfect. Whatever you're feeling is perfect. And allow yourself to be present with it. This too shall pass. Thank you. So let's take a moment and go into a time of meditation, quieting our minds. As we take a breath, we just breathe into our own experience in the now, becoming aware of the body, just noticing if there's any tension in the body. Again, without any judgment or resistance, just allow it to be. Notice it, breathe into it, experience it. And as you experience it, know that you are bringing it light and love. You're bringing it the attention that it is asking for, really. And so honor the wisdom of your body. Breathe into the energy of your emotions. And just again, notice. Notice what is moving there. And notice that it is energy that is moving. As you see, emotions are energy in motion. Always moving, always flowing, ever changing, never permanent. But we can observe them. We can experience them. We can even learn from them. as we pay attention. Notice the thoughts, again, energy that is always moving through your mind, like clouds floating in the sky. Just notice. So you become aware of the energy of body, the energy of emotion, the energy of thought. Just aware without any pushing against or trying to eliminate. Just noticing it is all God. It is all God. And you are a perfect and whole and complete expression of God. In your spirituality, in your humanity, in your divine nature. In your human nature, you are an expression of God. So breathe into that. I am a child of the living God, made in the image of perfect love. All that I am, all I've been given to you, my God, I surrender. I surrender. I am a child of the living God, made in the image of perfect love. All that I am, all I've been given to you, my God, I surrender. I surrender. I surrender. So breathe, breathe, grounding your awareness here and now, in this time and space, reawakened in your body, reawakened in every aspect of your being. I am that. And as you breathe in, gently open your eyes as we come back into the awareness of this time and space. And now is the time in our service when we traditionally pass the offering baskets. And so it's a time in our service where we invite you to share. If you haven't already, many of you have, and continue to send in your offerings and donate online, and we are so appreciative of that. It's so important for us to maintain our operations here. Even though you're not here with us in person, we are still doing what we can do to continue to reach out and to connect and to be here in ministry with and for you. So we appreciate your support. If you'd like to go to our website, there's a donate button right at the home page on the top right corner. If you'd like to mail in your check to us, it's 3021 South University Boulevard, Denver, Colorado, 80210. And I know there's an opportunity to text to give. I wish I had that information written down, but if Trish is watching, she may put it in the comments. So if there's an opportunity and you'd like to do a text to give, we invite that as well. So let's say our offertory blessing together, which is divine love as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am thankful. Let's say it together. Divine love as me blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I am thankful. time has unfolded me, it has revealed to me life's nothing less than sublime. With every thought I make, every last breath I take, may I be gracious and kind. Love, I invite you to open up this heart of mine. Love, cover me, light and darkness. Love, cover me, right every wrong. Calls me to see love over hatred. Guide me to be faithful and strong. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. Kindness wash over me, make me a symphony, play every note you can find. Make me reverberate, gently deactivate, slowly flow out of my mind. Find me a melody, dance and let my anthem be. Love, cover me, light any darkness. Love, cover me, right every wrong. Calls me to see love over hatred. Guide me to be faithful and strong. Love, cover me. 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 I will not be shaken, I will not be moved. Love, cover me. May my heart awaken, tenderness be proved. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. Love, 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 love. Love, 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 love. Love, I invite you to open up this heart of mine. Love, cover me, light any darkness. Love, cover me, right every wrong. Calls me to see love over hatred. Guide me to be faithful and strong. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. Love, cover me. Love, 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 love. Love, 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 love. Thank you, Gary Lynn Floyd, for such a beautiful song. So I want to just remind you quickly, well, thank you for your donations, first of all, and remind you quickly that at 11 today, our Youth and Family Ministry Director, Natalie Simons, will be doing a lesson for our children on Facebook Live. And then at 11:30, she's doing a Zoom connection call with our children, if you'd like for your children to be a part of that. And then at noon, we are doing a virtual fellowship, which is something new that we're trying out this week on on Zoom. There was an email that went out. It was in our newsletter, but we had Zoom changed a couple of things, so we needed to send out a different link. So Trish sent out an email about that last night. So please check your email. You should have an announcement about virtual fellowship today at noon, and we'd love to have you come and be a part of that. You'll be able to see each other and to chat a little bit and catch up and to report on how you're doing, and we'd love to see you be a part of that. And then things going on during the week. Please check it out. There's lots of stuff going on. Story time with the children on Mondays and Fridays. I'm going to be reading a story to the children on Monday at 3, so that'll be interesting for me. And then Tuesday night, I'm still doing the Jesus as Our Way Shower discussion group. Wednesdays at 6, and then Tricia's doing Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4. So we've got something going on almost every day, and we'd love to have an opportunity to connect with you. So we'd love for you to be a part of that. So thank you again for being with us today, and I hope you have a beautiful Sunday and a great week. So let's close with our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am the light of God. The love of God enfolds us. I am the love of God. The power of God protects us. I am the power of God. The presence of God watches over us. I am the presence of God. Wherever we are, God is, and so it is. Amen. And now we'll join together in singing "Love Can Move the World." And it's a beautiful prayer and a wonderful affirmation for us to join together in singing. It's another great song by our friend Michael Gott. Love can move the world as the moon and sky moves the sea. Love can cause the wars to cease. Love can move this world to peace. It's a tide that begins with you and me. Love can move the world as the sun and sky moves the trees. Feel the wind of love increase as we move this world to peace. Come, love the world with me. Come, love the world with me. Blessings. Namaste.